Okay, guys. Wait.
Service provider should be a whole thing.
I know.
A podcast episode
Yeah.
for internet service provision.
6 months later. Okay, guys. So this is so exciting already. I love the energy.
Yeah.
And for the audience joining us, this is SOP Podcast. And today we are doing We Listen But We Don't Judge CX edition. Yeah?
Yeah.
So can we say we listen
And
We don't judge.
Again?
We listen, but we don't judge.
So this is We Listen But We Don't Judge CX edition. And I'm going to throw to you some questions. But before I go ahead, kindly introduce yourself. Bella is a staunch member here. Do you need introduction?
An introduction.
Please, I'll start with the theme. I think I'll get started the SOP podcast, and then you please take. I know ladies should come first, but
Yes.
also gentlemen,
Yes,
voice for
especially
voice.
because I'm a visitor.
Bro to bro.
Oh, I want
Bella,
to
we
register.
listen and we don't judge.
It's comfort with what has just happened. We are not taking it lying down. Yeah.
Can please proceed?
Yes, my name is Timothy Laku. I am Global Technology Executive with 20 plus years experience. I work with organizations to modernize their technology. So that's what I usually do.
So you're the technology guy.
I'm the tech guy.
Tech
Yes.
guy. Okay.
Yes.
Back at the guys in the house. And
No, you know what they say about tech guys?
No.
Tim, do you
What
know
do
what
they
they
say?
say about tech
No,
guys?
tell me.
My name is Rosebella Abok, and I am a global customer experience professional with over 15 years in matters commercial and matters customer experience optimization. Welcome to today's show. So they say, Tim, about tech guys, there's a way you guys love your technology and your solutions. So much so that your end users are not considered in the shininess of your technology and in the implementation and rollout of your technology. That's what they say. I don't believe it.
Yeah. I agree with it. That is how I used to be when I started. All these young people that I hire over time, I see they focus mostly on tech. But as you mature, you start to realize that it's not about technology, it's about the people. And beyond the people, it's about the customer. So that maturity is something that develops with time.
With time.
But initially, tech.
Okay. My name is Steve Noma, I'm a photographer, and these people they are very professional in their field, and I don't want to judge them. But let's go to the topic anyway. I always don't say about my profession, but in a way I've told myself because I'm a photographer, I need to keep reminding our audience to give me biashara because I'm equally a photographer and I need jobs.
There you go.
So here we go, guys. So this is We Listen and We Don't Judge CX edition. And I've done my research. All the information we're sharing here are on public domain. So it's not an attack on an organization or a company, but we are going to react to them and share perspective about them. So are we ready for We Listen but We Don't Judge?
Yes.
Yes.
We're not judging.
Yes.
Okay, start. Telecom Kenya are thieves. I'm forced to subscribe to something I didn't opt in. The option to unsubscribe never goes through. Okay? So you're subscribing, you're getting updates, but there's no option. They've given you an option to unsubscribe, but it's not going through. What do you think about this, Tim?
So this is interesting. That is a classic situation where the onboarding and offboarding journey is not connected,
Okay.
right? And the reason, so in tech, I'm looking at it from the tech perspective. The way someone comes into your product, there's a journey that they go through. They register somewhere, they update somewhere, they buy something, they continue to buy, you engage with them. But when they need to exit, then there has to be a connection between how they came in and they went out. The reason why I think that customer is not able to disconnect or unsubscribe is because these two things are not connected. The offboarding is not connected to the onboarding.
Yeah.
So these two systems don't talk to each other. Now it drops here and they can't come to the system here. And so there's a problem. The customer experiences that as a frustration of unsubscribing.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a technology problem.
It's a technology problem. Maybe before you leave the technology world, because you're still there, there's another one that also still directed to you. Because they're also still in the same line. This one I could relate with it. Okay, Safaricom. I have to dial a magic combination. Okay? Issues don't get resolved. Give my own line away, queue for an hour to get it back. The second one is they responded. Now this is Safaricom response, okay? They responded that I may have accidentally subscribed and had been billed to a total of 1,500 shillings in 4 months.
Wow.
Okay? So in that period that did not respond.
100K. Wow.
Yeah. So what's your take on that?
There's someone who's not listening. No one is listening. Like this is classic. Like internally, this is a situation. I think what's happening is there is a like your installer.
Yes.
Amesema mambo ya complaints.
Yeah,
ya
that's
call
another
center.
department.
Yeah.
That's another department. My role is within a certain scope.
That's it. And so they're focusing there. So the complaints are going to the customer experience team of the call center. And once they forward it,
No ownership.
Yeah, sorry,
No
Madam,
wameosha
accountability.
mkono, wameachilia hapo na wanaendelea on to the next one, right? And so the end-to-end customer experience
Yes.
is the issue here.
Broken. It's
broken.
fragmented.
It's fragmented. Kuna hii group wanafanya hii group ingine wanafanya hii group ingine wanafanya hii, lakini kuna connection. Nikisha handover, I am like, I'm done. See, my job was to handover. What you do with that is now up to you.
Yeah.
And the customer experiences it that way. It's like 3 months later, 100K later,
Yeah, it's got
mnani charge too.
yeah.
And it's an automated billing process.
It's an automated process.
And you guys don't want us to judge that. Are we gonna listen and don't judge that?
We are not going to judge. Let's start from, you know,
But
go-
we've already
go-
said when-
gone are the days.
But we don't
Wait,
judge.
gone are the days when customers would put such comments or reviews on different platforms and organizations could pull those comments down as a response, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's communication authority that now says you as an organization, what you'd have to do is to speak with the customer, get in line with what it is they need resolved, after which you can actually ask them to pull down the comment. But even if they do not, as an organization, you're required to take responsibility and ownership to resolve that issue fully and to also respond. So if it was something that was put out there in a public domain, I'm very curious what the response finally was and what the final resolution was. If I could speak to the defense, I think, of the organization that's been mentioned, it is that they are very responsive to the voice of the customer. I want to bet you that that is a comment that you know had some impactful actions and it provided for insights within the organization. That said, we must always continue advocating for the customer. Their voice matters.
Yeah, okay.
Their voice is powerful.
We hope the action there, that whatever, but this is also still to you.
Yes.
We are mentioning these brands because this is how things are raw out there. So you will want to filter, but unfortunately, we can't. We have to mention it so that it's more authentic the way it is. Bella,
Yes.
this one. KPLC. Every time I call, they are rude as AS. Then I can't mention it.
Yes.
Because now I also have ASF. If you sound youngish,
Yes.
they dismiss you.
Wow.
We listen, but
we don't judge. This is a customer who's feeling discriminated against, and you know also their perception, like we like to say in the CX world, is the customer's perception is the reality. No matter what the brand wants to say or do, as long as the customer has perceived that this is how you have treated me, it's their reality. They're putting it out there in the public domain to let people know that I was discriminated against by this organization. The word that they're using there is every time. To me, this has happened more than once.
Yeah.
So, it's not like a one-off. It is they're starting to see and feel that this is common. And I also want to bet you it wasn't one person that was serving this customer. So they've also experienced it in the organization. I dare say it might be part of the culture or the briefing in how to handle certain customers. And right now we are also saying ageism is a thing. Do not judge your customers based on their age. As long as a customer has called in, give them the dignity, the respect that they deserve for, putting across their time and their airtime as well to call you and give you feedback. So this organization in this case needs to look into these calls and as part of like customer centricity is to ensure that the quality assurance team members and their quality assurance process or technology is bringing out the attributes of what needs to be improved from a call center perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
This one any one of you can take. It's an insurance. I can see your faces already. So insurance, this one says, I filed my claim with the Marco in February. It is now June, and no one picks my calls anymore. Trident says my documents are missing, but I have submitted my document twice. We listen. But we don't just they tell you, send us your ID and your phone number.
You send.
Then again, 3 hours later, okay, who was handling you? Please send us your ID and your phone number. So this is what this person says. It's in February. Probably she or he had an accident and she filed a claim or he filed a claim. Now it's in June or she's in June and no one picks my calls anymore. And I've filed my document twice.
A couple of times. I think they're just embarrassed that their system has not been capturing these records. They don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a classic situation. I remember there was another brand that you had to go to one branch, submit your documents, and you cannot follow up in any of their branches. You have to come back to the same branch, right? Which didn't make sense.
Yeah.
If your systems are centralized and you have a centralized system, why is the other branch not being able to keep your information?
Yeah.
Or they're like, okay, bring your ID, bring this, right? But they're saying you can't just drop it with any branch because you locked this request in Garden City. You must go back
What?
these documents physically, right? In a world where the technology allows us to be able to have a central system where all the branches can access this thing, that shouldn't be a complaint. Even that shouldn't be a complaint. So this to me is a classic situation where the system maybe at some point was flashed. All the information it captured within that period, any customer in that particular period, they lost it.
They have to
Now
start
they are
again.
now embarrassed. They can't call back and say, Bella, unajua, ile document that you submitted last week, our system had an issue. Can you please send back? So they just avoid you.
Yeah.
But avoiding is not the solution.
It's not a solution. And then there's been this general feeling that insurance companies are in a hurry to onboard me as a customer. But when the rubber meets the road, and usually that is the claims process.
Yeah.
When I now need the insurance company to come through for me because I have been paying my premiums religiously.
Yeah.
This is the time of reckoning. This is the moment of truth. Somehow, there's a lack of trust. Trust is broken, and there's you almost start to feel like there's a directive within the organization to not pay out claims. Yeah, so some of these things might feel like manufactured friction. just so that the customer finds alternative solutions and doesn't have to push through for the claim. But what makes me sad is that the customer here is even going chronological. This happened in February. We're now in June. So it matters and it's painful for them. They are not going to refer you. And the moment they do not need you anymore because the product you are offering is probably offered across other insurance companies, they're out.
Exactly. He's not going to renew with you.
But if I also jump in real quick on that, I think the worry of most people who are driving, more probably have cars outside here, is not always the insurance company they're insuring with. In the end, they're always looking forward with, if I get into trouble, will these people step up?
Exactly.
And that's what, for me, that's the most question I normally get. I say, wow, Lipa, do these people pay in case I need them? Do I need to go through process? Who and who need to sign? I have to wait for particular months. It's crazy, and also the inconveniences that comes with it. It's another crazy thing. A conversation for another
day.
Okay, Bella, this one is still. I'll share with you. This one you can share. Equity. This is banking, and I'm just reading what is here. Okay, it's not me. It's what was written. This was an easy banking. Okay, easy launched Equity Bank launched it banking. There were some cases around it, but here is what the customer wrote. Equity deducted my money via app, and I got was an SMS saying the issue will be looked into. Okay. How is it my fault that someone used my ATM card? Why should I wait 30 days for an investigation? There's this trend of customers, organizations or business that you launch a complaint, and the only answer they have is
We'll get back to you.
looked into.
And they're following a policy or a process within that organization. Do you know the trigger for me in that comment even has to do with the data privacy and confidentiality? There seems to have been a breach somewhere. And that form of insecurity with systems. Tim, do you want to take that side of it?
Yeah. I mean, it's unacceptable. Like you can't, in this day and age, it's unacceptable to share information around your customers and make it public. A breach shouldn't even happen, right? It does happen in most of these banks and big organizations, but again, the tech is there to be able to secure your systems and be able to make sure that nothing like that happens. So yeah, it's a data privacy issue. It's all you can check all those boxes in this scenario. It really shouldn't. But I think it's just a question of how do you respond so quickly? Like, why wait and send that? Call the customer, send someone there.
Yes.
There are mechanisms within your team that can be activated to ensure this thing doesn't escalate all the way to social media.
Yeah.
By the time it's getting to social media, for the most
The customer
part,
is frustrated.
they have tried. They've tried twice. They've tried 3 times. Most of the things that go to social media, it's if you call those guys, are like, I really called them. I sent them an email. I went to their office, but nothing.
They tried
Then
multiple channels. Yes, that was like last resort. They tried multiple channels.
Yeah.
Then there's this aspect about so now it has happened. We are saying to organizations, please put in preventive measures. But now it has happened. Then the what next? We know that you have a policy or a process or a procedure and that it must be followed. But what we're also saying is that some cases can be treated as outliers, or there can be some exceptions. There's a way to accelerate certain resolutions, and I think we should look towards that. I hear customer experience professionals who have embraced continuous improvement, who've embraced Kaizen, to say that it's been taking us 30 days to do such investigations. What do we need to do as an agile, nimble organization to have that turnaround time?
Yeah.
so that it no longer can take 30 days or should take 30 days. Let it take 15 days. What can we do as an organization to accelerate our turnaround times for resolution?
Yeah.
So I think it's a challenge I'm putting out there. If it happened to one customer, it probably happened to a couple of other customers. So what is the organization doing in terms of not sticking to a rigid policy or procedure, but making sure that one, preventive mode is enacted, and even so, should something like that also happen, we accelerate resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing which is interesting, seriously, if you're investigating and it's about money, 30 days. In what world is that acceptable?
Is it also 30 working days?
I know, like, how is that acceptable?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
money imepotea kwa account yangu. Nikoje 30 days. Like, how is that acceptable? Even the people who work in the bank, if you ask them, would you be okay
If your
waiting
money,
if your money disappeared and you have to wait 30 days? So sometimes the policies have been created, but then you ask, but who created this policy? Because the guy sitting in the room making that decision, that 30 day is not okay for them. So why is it okay for the customer?
Yeah, but I also
Doesn't make
want
sense.
to, I also want to add on that one. This one recently happened to me. I sent money on an M-Pesa pay bill that I missed one number. It was my mistake. But they told me I have to wait for 48 hours. Was it 24 hours or 48 hours? Between the 2 hours. No, it was. I'll get my data right so that I'm not sanctioning any or bad mouthing any company. But I had to wait. Let me give it 24 hours. Let's say I'm using time. I'm buying bills. I'm buying stuff in the supermarket. Then I have to wait. Then I used a wrong pay bill or a long till number. Pay bill might be a longer one because it's associated with the bank. A long till number. Do you know I have to wait for 24 hours for me to get my money? Do you know that's a very thing? In fact, that's a very sad thing. I've been personally.
Yeah.
I will
It's too
judge
long.
this one. This one I
It's
will
too
judge.
long.
If I'm using a till and it's an automated system, if I've launched a complaint that say this one is wrong till, why can't I get maximum of 2 hours or 1 hour to get my money back so that I can continue
Yeah.
with my engagement? Why is that normal? Why are we normalizing? Can we not normalize this?
Exactly.
yeah. Can I come to the defense of the company or the organization
No.
in that I know the process right now has been improved on. It requires you to validate at least 2 steps before the money moves, right?
Yeah.
And I know that was new because we were not doing that before. It's like a confirmation of sorts, and it gives you a yes and no option.
Yeah.
Just so that before the finality of that transaction, if there's an error anywhere, you can self-correct. And so it must mean also there's a way that you pressed yes and you continued with the transaction.
Yeah.
24 hours or 48 hours might cover whatever integrations they need to look back at to refund. Also, there's the question on how many of such requests or pings actually happen within the organization, and how have they prioritized it as an issue that needs to be resolved within the shortest period of time. Granted, M-Pesa and Safaricom generally are very good at implementing voice of customer, Steve. And I know this
No, I
is
know,
definitely
I know.
something that they've looked into.
I really hope they do. I mean, this is just it's me not them. I feel like if I'm going to a supermarket and I am human, of course I'll take responsibility of the error. But you asking me to step out of the supermarket and wait until tomorrow,
To come back and ask the
it's so concerning.
So there's
to
a
me.
detached part about what did you need to get done with that money just then.
Yeah.
There's a pain they need to solve for just then. So in this case, they are hoping that you still have money in your wallet to redo that transaction in the hope that you will wait until you receive you receive the refund.
So that's the angle I'm coming with. Do you want to step in or we go to the next?
No,
last
I
one?
agree.
Yeah.
And I wanted to chime in there. So your point is very valid. That there's a reason why they are waiting 24 hours. There's a reason why they're waiting 48 hours, whatever the case may be. But they're assuming the public. Let's not assume that our customers will not understand our reason for why it's taking 24 hours. Tell us. Tell the customer the reason why it's taking 24 hours.
Yeah.
Don't just say it will take 24 hours. That's it. Like, why don't you? I am smart enough. Tell me why it's taking that long. I want to hear it. Tell me the reason why.
Yeah.
Because there's
Yeah.
definitely a reason why that policy exists. But explain it to the customer.
Yeah.
It's really that easy. Once you explain it to the customer, he's going to be like, oh,
that's
I
the
have to check
reason.
the system. We have to check this other system, and for that reason, this usually takes time. Here it will take 6 hours. Here, that's why it's taking 24 hours. And if he gets that explanation, he's gonna be
Comforted.
I understand now why it's taking too long. Let me be patient.
Yeah.
But just to slam it on my face,
That it
As a,
takes-
will
as,
take
a, as a
48
part
hours.
of policy.
and then it's our policy.
and
Hang
that,
up.
and that is that, and that is final.
I've thought of
And
something.
that's the problem.
I've thought of something, and it's risky. It's on the edge.
Okay.
Extending that line of credit to the customer so they're able to do what they will do. When we recover the refund, we automatically recover it from your wallet.
Yeah.
It's money that is
Because
already in the system.
yeah,
The money is
because
already in the system.
if at all, when the money is refunded, or if at all you ever update your wallet with more money, the agreement is that even after our investigations, whatever, there will be an action against your balance.
Of course.
Either way, they just extend that line of credit and make sure you're able to do what you need to do. So here's a thing. There's a bank that did what other banks were not doing. I don't know if other banks have picked on it. And I think I can mention the bank.
We give credit where it's due.
So here we go. I&M Bank, I think, introduced something where if you are doing your money transfers and you incurred a transaction cost for the transfer of that money, and there happened to be a delay or any form of inconvenience on the other side, they would make sure if there's a reversal, they reverse plus the transaction fee.
Oh, wow.
Or they ensure that there's some form of service recovery or some form of compensation for the inconvenience of that transaction. You know, when that thing was made public, I hope it still happens. I don't bank with I&M. But, you know, it was a wow factor. It was oh my God, they're realizing that at some point you could actually have a pain point or an issue with that transaction. And, you know, even these days, if you move money anywhere, and even if it goes to a wrong number, if you're reimbursed, you're not reimbursed with the transaction cost.
Exactly.
You're not. That's already money in the bank for the organization that facilitated the movement of that money, whether it went to the correct place or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think those are very thin line we are all looking at, and of course we are listening, but we are not
judging. We are not judging.
We are not judging. We're just saying.
We are saying
this is a CX edition of we listen, but we don't judge. Last one, because we are closed on our last one. This is based on traveling, okay? And some of us have traveled, okay? So this one is very interesting, and I think this one relates to Bella. And probably a bit of, you can also touch on that, because both of us, I love travel. I also hope you love travel, and Bella too.
Yeah.
So this one says, the cabin crew, this airline has suffered enough damage.
We know it.
In this country, let's just say a leading airline in Africa.
Leading airline in Africa.
We know it.
A leading airline in Africa, and this is it. I feel I have empathy for them. They are literally recovering and they're trying to make profit, so I have empathy for them. But they're saying the cabin crew at times are falling asleep. TVs aren't an option. Bathrooms are disgusting.
Oh, wow.
You're on a flight. You're going to Amsterdam, you're going to Namibia, you're going wherever. And because the cabin crew have been overworked, they're just falling asleep as they are serving you. We listen, but we don't judge.
Oh, my.
I mean, Bella will close it.
Oh.
You know, when I hear these complaints, I'm always asking the question, when was the last time the CEO of the organization flew on that airline?
Yeah, had
just
a
randomly,
similar experience.
and say, today But I take the South African
Yeah.
random flight.
Yeah.
Get in there,
Yeah.
sit with the customers, experience the service.
Yeah.
I bet you they don't do that. Because if they did, how is it that these things are happening?
Yeah.
Dirty toilets, by the time inafika social media, like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's leadership is so distant from the reality on the ground that when things are happening here, even they are surprised. They're like,
Yeah.
this is happening on my planes.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. I think this you need to calm down.
Yeah.
Make random, get on a plane randomly, go to any destination, experience the plane. Don't have a warning mechanism. Just
Yes.
jump on the plane.
And
Random.
wear shades.
Yeah.
Do you know that sometimes even the cabin crew in this case are not aware and have not intimately interacted with their C-suite? They wouldn't even know
Yeah.
who they are. And it's a form of mystery shopping, I guess, internally. And there's organizations that do that, and they maybe send in their spouse or their child or their friend or something, just so that, if they're well known within the organization, they're popular within the organization, then they can still get very raw and honest feedback from another route. I always keep saying this: you never know who you're serving. Like if there's anything else that should wake you up and make you alert, is that you just never know who's on the other side of the counter, who's experiencing you. That said, some things are basics. Yeah, let's just go back to the basics of what must happen on a flight.
Yeah.
What we cannot not have
Yeah.
on a flight. So clean lavatories is a must. Is you must have. It is a public domain in that everyone in that flight needs to use that amenity at some point. Yeah, so there's some basics, and depending on the length of the flight, surely there's a mechanism to ensure
Yes.
cleanliness. When it comes to employee experience, I can speak for days, and I can, because how you treat your employees or how they treat each other as internal customers translates to external customer experience. It always shows up. And it's unfortunate that customers had to see your staff succumb to being physically tired. It speaks about many other things in terms of ill treatment or a lack of focus on what's good for your
Stuff.
employees. Yeah.
Yeah. And even the welfare of the employees in a way, You want to be in a space where you work and you go home and no one sees that you are tired, or you are from a flight in London.
Yeah.
And now you are another flight going to the US.
Yeah.
I'm just to close on this story, because I'm a storyteller. I remember there's some times when I used to work in an agency, and we used to do production for these big corporates in this country. And I remember I'll be covering an event until 12 or 1 a.m. because that's when the party starts, It's a corporate gig ends until around 11:30, 11 there, and then there's a small engagement. The CEO wants to meet with the people, and you as a storyteller, as a photographer, you're asked to remain behind. So you know what time you get home? You get home at 1:30 or latest 2, okay? And that is not even within the professional working time, because it was supposed to be around 4 hours.
Yeah.
Then it is extended to around 5 hours. Then you need another 30 minutes to get home. The next day morning, you have a flight to, let's say, Mombasa, and you're going with there's a first flight, and I even learned that there's a first flight that always leaves JKA at 6:30 a.m. That means you get to the airport at what time? At 4.
Yeah.
And we have another crazy checking in this country that we'll talk about in the next Listen You Don't Judge episode. The security checkup from the moment until you get in is another 1 hour. So by the time you get to the flight, you just want to sleep
You haven't slept,
and
yeah.
recover. So all this that you're mentioning speaks volumes on what many people do not want to talk about. But here we just say it as it is. there's need to recheck those um those gaps that
Yeah.
are left not to be filled. But anyway, thank you so much for guys for coming. This was we listen and we don't judge CX edition.
Yeah.
And I hope you can do more of this once in a month, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, you can close with a parting shot, say
Yeah.
with the team.
Yeah, it's always interesting having this conversation, Steve, and I hope that this conversation we've had will spark a lot of engagement and interaction with people from a customer perspective, but also from an organizational, what are we doing for the customer and for the employee perspective.
Team.
Yeah, we need to put people first. We forget that everything that we've created, the structures, the policies, they are to serve people, whether internal people or external people. When we forget that we are serving people, then we start making policies that don't make sense. We don't care whether our staff sleep for 2 hours and they're on the flight the next day, whether they're doing back-to-back flights, right, without rest. And that's it. It just basically goes down to, are we putting our people first or our customers first? If we don't do that, then why do we build these businesses? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, put people first.
So again, this was not personal. It was about brand and storytelling. Thank you again. Until the next time,
Yeah.
we listen, but we don't.
But we
don't
don't
judge.
judge.